For the first time ever, I am thrilled to say we have an official sponsor for the Dirt Talk podcast, and that's Ariat. I've worn Ariat boots on every job site I've visited over the years, traveling in them across 5 continents. More importantly, I have yet to find a single project where working folks, unlike me, are not wearing Ariat boots and workwear in every condition imaginable. And there's really good reason for that, and that's because it's phenomenal stuff. And the more I've learned about Ariat and the company, the more I've loved their brand. So with this, Ariat is offering any Dirt Talk listener 10% off their next Ariat order at ariat.com/dirttalk. That's 10% off boots, jeans, and workwear at ariat.com/dirttalk or at the link in this episode's description. With that, let's get to the show.
This is exciting. I was trying to think about our anniversary. So 2018 is the year we met.
Yeah, I just started I visited a company that makes yellow machines in January of 2018.
That's
when I was
right.
at I Build America.
Yes.
Quit, started Build It in February of 2018.
Yes.
Turned 23
Yes.
in February of 2018. Then you and I went back. I went back to Peoria with you in April of 2018.
And that was my first time at CAT headquarters.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was getting into.
What used to be their headquarters until they were like later.
Bye-bye.
Now they're in Dallas.
I know. Smart move. Tax-wise, smart move, allegedly.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. That's a classic big corporation move, which
Not
is
gonna
clever.
lie. I'm like, Trevor, should we have HQ in Texas? But my whole family's there. I got reasons.
I don't blame them. All the companies moving to Texas is like, I get it. It's well played.
Yeah, and the
Especially
crazy
Illinois
thing,
is brutal nowadays.
Yeah.
Texas, so.
they got nothing. Oh yeah, Minnesota and Illinois are probably.
No, Indiana had one of the biggest net migrations happen over the past 5 years of any state in the United States.
I believe
and
it.
it's like, why Indiana? Because I get Tennessee, I get North Carolina, I get Florida, I get Texas, I get Arizona, I get Idaho. But why Indiana? And it's because the state laws are dramatically different and the taxes are dramatically different.
Yeah.
So it was people moving from Illinois to Indiana. It wasn't people moving from Arizona to Indiana. It was Illinois to Indiana.
Like, bye-bye.
Yeah, so some of the biggest growth areas are right over, because Chicago and the whole Chicago land butts up to Indiana.
Yeah.
Like some of the biggest development projects are
Right there on
just
the line.
over the line
On
in
the line.
Indiana.
Like literally right there.
Yeah, because they've had this explosion in population and businesses and
It's
everything.
It's smart.
I get it.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I'm literally
Over
like
$3.
Trevor. My whole family is in Texas, and that's like my heritage.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, I mean, the development, as you know, outside of Houston is insane.
Are you from
right now.
Texas?
We're from Oklahoma.
You're from Oklahoma.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of my childhood in Texas.
Okay.
And loud and proud Texan,
Yeah.
like my grandfather. He's the reason I was exposed to the industry when I was young, because he had his own little trucking company.
Oh, really?
He had a Freightliner.
Okay.
When I met Trevor, I thought he'll be proud because Trevor's first purchase was a Freightliner. His first truck was a Peterbilt, but that was inherited with the company.
So you weren't, when you met Trevor, it wasn't cold turkey to this world.
It wasn't cold turkey, but
But as an adult?
I'd never seen it as an adult.
Yeah.
And the side of construction that I was very familiar with was architect and design.
Okay.
Like, I knew, who's at the ribbon cutting?
Yeah.
The designer, the architect.
The pretty people.
The pretty people.
Uh-huh.
Except all my people are very pretty.
Yeah.
I'm literally joking with our crew this year. I have a picture from last year on a job site. And I'm like, we're doing a calendar. You guys belong on a 12-month calendar.
Nice.
Poses, guys, headshots, machines. I mean.
No, I joke with people about that all the time.
Yeah.
But it's like, I really should do that at some point.
Absolutely.
I
A
think it would be
calendar
a
of the
hit.
people, right?
Yeah.
But I want pose and fun. Like our guys.
Yeah.
They got their headshots taken last year. So we did headshots for all of our team, our field crews, with the machines and what they do and with the shovels. And they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, you have to.
It's pretty amazing though. They loved it.
It's a weird skill I've developed.
Yeah.
Taking photographs of people that don't want their photographs taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had their photographs taken.
Yeah.
It's a skill I didn't think I'd be developing ever. But yet here
It takes
I am.
a certain magic.
It does, and it's hard for me to put it into words.
Yeah.
And I still struggle with it. I'm 7 years doing it, and it's still a struggle.
Yeah.
But when you get it right, it's really, really fun.
You get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had an amazing photographer, and she just was like, work at supermodels.
Yeah.
You know, like they ended where they were like dancing there, and their wives all reached out to us.
Yeah.
After this. And they were like, hey, could I please have a digital copy of my husband's headshot?
Mm-hmm.
That is the first picture I have of him smiling.
And
I'm like,
I
absolutely, it's amazing.
I make that point all the time. Like when, I don't know, sometimes people dispute, our people aren't on social media. It's like, yeah, that's probably right. Maybe this crew isn't, these guys aren't, but their family probably is. Their spouses probably are.
Yes, and they want to be proud
Their
of.
kids definitely are. So when I get a comment on a photo that's like, that's my dad.
Yes.
Those are the coolest ones.
The win.
Yeah, or that's my mom, whoever it is.
The win.
So cool. And from a morale standpoint and a retention standpoint, you can't buy that.
And your future workforce.
Yeah, that too.
So literally, we did a video. So we started the headshot thing a year ago, and I loved watching them love putting being photographed.
Yeah, once you warm them up to it, once they get used to it, they enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then some.
Well, you know, my guys are gonna be used to it. And
But like
Missy's always out there.
There's a weird thing too where they have to play it cool.
Yes.
And they
100%.
cannot act excited. They've I'm
that.
not excited to have my photograph taken, but inside, who doesn't like a good photograph of
They
themselves?
loved it.
We are all as selfish as it gets. We
loved
love
it.
seeing ourselves.
Yes.
9 times out of 10 they love it.
Every
once in a while somebody
Their
genuinely hates it.
wives loved it. And then at our Christmas party this year, so we did our first staff spotlight or crew highlight. We're going to do it more next year. I just wanted to test it out. How would this go? Would they feel comfortable if we did some storytelling around them, why they're in the industry, the pride they put in their work every day. And so we did it on Tyler. It's on YouTube. And I wasn't doing it for the views.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it for instilling pride in what he does every day. And watching him was great. At the Christmas party, his wife came up to me and she's like, I just want to thank you for doing that spotlight on Tyler. And she's like, our whole family watched it at the holidays. And our kids are so proud that their dad is on YouTube. And they've watched it and they've been like, that's my dad. We're so proud. He's on YouTube. So that means something, right? Yeah. And that stuck with me.
I'm on YouTube.
I mean,
slow it down. Yeah.
That stuck with me. Then we watched it at our Christmas party. They're like, oh, all the guys started joking, because they're teasing. Oh, come on, put it up there. Tyler's fame has had 200 views or something. I don't know. And watching it, I'm just like, this is the magic, right here, a wife proud of her husband. He's on YouTube. The kids proud of dad and what he does. And he tells a story of why he does it. I mean, it's how he puts food on their table every day. Well, it was beautiful.
If that story's not told, a lot of times it just becomes dad's always gone.
That's what I don't want. I want the kids to love what their parents do.
And that's what's cool about this world, the built world in general, is that it's very easy for people to understand.
Yes.
This is not litigation.
No.
We're not trying to tell the story of litigators or of insurance salesmen or
gritty humans.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward.
Just amazing humans.
Yeah.
That moment had a huge impact on me this year because sometimes I question myself, what am I doing in this industry? I'm just a different Doug, right? I'm not a dirt person. I ask silly questions. I go in someone told me when we got our WBEMB certification, they're like, oh, it's going to be terrible. You're going to hate it. And they're like, wait till you have to deal with all the politics and whatever. And I go in bright-eyed, bushy-tail, what are you talking about? This is going to be awesome. Right. And so sometimes I definitely struggle and just feeling silly. What am I doing? But those moments where my guy, our guy, our company's, operator kids and wife are proud of what he does and they understand what he does, I was like, okay, I've made an impact. It's doing something.
100%.
That mattered to me, right?
Yeah.
That was success, not closing. I mean, closing contracts is obviously success for me because that's what I do to make sure they have work next year and they keep putting food on the table. But that moment I was like, this is what I live for. Like when I feel silly, and I'm looked at sometimes as silly, right? Like, what is she doing here?
Yeah.
How are the kids? Like when I walk into rooms, it's like, how are the kids? It's like, I mean, how are the business and how are my people?
Sure.
You know what I mean? The perception of what is she doing here?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure I create some of that with my own insecurities. But
how did you meet Trevor originally?
I was good friends with his brother's wife.
Okay.
And then I stalked him on Facebook.
Nice.
And he had hockey hair.
Oh, did he?
And in Minnesota, like
what's hockey hair?
Hockey hair is like they play hockey, and so they let it like grow out long underneath the helmets, right?
I assume
so. Kind of like brush. He doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah,
as you can see.
No. But does he have like straight hair?
Yeah,
yeah. That's how my hair grows out.
It was really good hockey hair.
Kind of curls at the end, but
so
you think you're cool during, and then I look at pictures of myself, and I'm like, I look like an asshole. But
douchey.
Yeah, we're past that point now.
We're past that, right? So a friend's daughter was like, "Oh my gosh, you should date my Uncle Trevor." And I was like, "Your Uncle Trevor is what? Your Uncle Trevor? He's young, like because he's 4 years younger than me."
Yeah.
And I go on his Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, your Uncle Trevor is hot."
Nice.
He's got the Minnesota hockey hair. And so we just started chatting on Facebook. And quite honestly, he like stiffed me a couple times, like ignored my messages, which I was like, hello. But he was working. He was in a Bobcat all night, excavator all day. He was just starting. He had the dumpster company and it kind of like was putting it to the side and starting the dirt business.
So when you met him, he was digging holes already?
No. He was doing additions he was doing pool demos.
Yeah.
He had the dumpster business, and he'd had his best year with the dumpster business in 2013.
When did he start? How old was he when he started?
2009. He started after the recession. Yeah. And it was like in the red. It was a business he purchased. He went to like 8-10 banks, and they all said no to him. It's like, help me buy this dumpster business. And he finally found a bank that said yes. And it was in the red, and it had the previous owner had been dumping trash on property that his dad owned, and the city was like, we're fining you $2,000 a day until this property's cleaned up. So he's like, I'm going to take the dumpster business and clean up that land, and for his first job, and then bring it up to profitable. It took him 3 or 4 years. The waste business is really tough. And then after the recession, so he was basically like crazy doing it. But he figured it out, and he really did a good job at just building. I mean, we still have customers calling us like 7-8 years later for that one time they worked with Trevor. He was driving the truck. He was driving the 1999 Peterbilt, mechanic, invoice, customer service, and dispatch. I mean, now we have like 5 staff doing what he was doing as one guy in one truck.
Yeah.
So he had built that up to its most profitable year in 2013. And then in January 2014, that's when we met. And he was kind of like, he had a Bobcat, and he partnered in buying his first excavator. He split it with someone and was like, I want to get into excavating. And the reason he did that is because as a dumpster company, he was going up to these demos and watching them be done inefficiently.
Yeah.
Because he's a dirt guy. Like, he grew up around dirt. His dad's a land developer. He understood it. So he's like, I want to go in and do this more efficient.
And he's a man. You think you can do everything better.
Dude, yeah.
I can do that better.
I actually envy your egos.
I have to catch myself all the time. Like, I was watching some like the documentary on the Olympic runners the other day. It's like, that doesn't look that hard. And I'm like, what the fuck am I even saying? Like, who do I think I am?
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's a skill.
This is the Olympics.
It's a skill. Like ego. Like, I envy masculine ego sometimes. I feel like Keaton Turner one time made a comment on one of my things. Like, you got to just be like a dude and go in and be like, I can do this better.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was just like,
it's not always a good thing. You need both.
Yeah.
You really do need both.
You need the balance.
Yeah.
So he kind of just said, I could be more efficient because he was watching. This was literally how his brain works. Like he's got an engineering, like numbers brain, right? Obviously, we're opposites there. So he was watching them load the dumpsters inefficiently and like doing the math on the cubic yards, right? And just like how much more money and how many less dumpsters could I do this demo?
Yeah.
And then he was hauling it out to Vonco, okay, owned by Vite.
Yeah.
And he was seeing Vaughn out there in his Tahoe, like up counting, right? He was like counting the trucks coming in and like how much was being dumped at his landfill.
Yeah.
And so he just started putting this all together of like, there's something here, right? There's something with the trash business, but there's something with the excavation business, and there's a way to bring it together. So the January that I was hustling him to come meet me, like, hey, we want to hang out? I'm working. I worked till midnight last night. So he was just starting the excavating. So he was doing demos, pool demos and stuff like that.
And in a world like this, a very seasonal world, so when you've got to make hay while the sun's shining.
Absolutely.
So the hours in the summer are long.
Are crazy, but it was January, Aaron.
Okay. So,
don't try to give him excuses for not answering my call.
Yeah, but as a business owner, the hours are long. Like,
Sure.
Like I have to manufacture answers for people that like, so what else do you do? It's like, what do you think? This is it.
We don't have hobbies.
This is what I do. I don't know what
it's so sad.
But I don't want to do anything else.
I know.
I just want to do this.
We get made fun of. Trevor does, especially because he doesn't hunt. He doesn't fish. We're in Minnesota. Like dudes are gone in November, and girls, females too. Like they love hunting. They want deer. They want to fish. They want to do all these things. And Trevor snowmobiles, so he does like that.
I was going to say. Yeah.
And a friend of mine was like, well, so what is your hobby? And I'm like,
I've got a business and children.
Yeah. So I started line dancing with a friend.
Oh, really?
Honky tonk, old school line dancing at a VFW bar down the road. That is my new hobby.
Very good.
And this guy who's passionate about keeping line dancing alive.
How's Trevor's line dancing?
His first time is coming on Saturday night.
Oh, so really?
A group of us girls, we decided we wanted a hobby, right? Like how embarrassing.
That's when it all goes
down.
Nothing.
So this is what we found. This is our hobby. We all have our fancy boots. And we're doing it. So Trevor's first time is on Saturday. I have a feeling all the husbands are just going to ditch and go to the bar, but we will not be moving off that dance floor.
Was you getting involved in the business probably not at all in the cards originally? When did that enter the chat?
Obviously the hockey hair was the initial reason.
But
when it ended the conversation, so I had my dream job.
Yeah, you had a career.
A lot of people don't know that about me. Like I had worked 8 or 9 years to be in fundraising and within the nonprofit sector. Taking on contracts. I had a contract in Chicago. I had a contract in LA. My dad was an absolute incredible fundraiser, like for nonprofits. He ran $30 million campaigns. Like he was so good at speaking and, rallying a cause and raising the funds necessary to do that. And so I was his marketing assistant when I was 15, 16. I got fired once for wearing a jean jacket to work. I'll never forget that. And it was from Abercrombie. And I'm like, Dad, this is from Abercrombie and Fitch. Like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyways,
any idea how much?
Side note. So I was his marketing assistant and I was fascinated by my dad's skill, by his gift, by what he could do. He was just amazing. And so I followed in his footsteps. I was in the nonprofit sector for 9 years and had just landed my dream job, which was I was a major donor officer. So I was working on, with our major donors that gave $1 million plus to the organization. For a nonprofit I really cared about is downtown Minneapolis, Urban Ventures. They help families get out of generational poverty. 9-building campus. My mentor was Art Erickson, who started the organization in one little building, and then he built it to a 9-building campus that Ryan Companies actually built. They're big donors there. And it was like the dream. I literally hit the dream, like the jackpot. And then I met Trevor and
it all went downhill.
I left my dream job to talk about dumpsters and trash every day.
But like, what's that converse? Like, how does it come up? How does that?
So the honest truth is, I saw something with the dumpster business, and my mind started to kind of like resonate of like, Trevor was going to leave that kind of in the yard because he was done. I mean, he was burnt out. He cleaned out all that garbage. I mean, he had been through the ringer, and he's like, I'm going to get into dirt and demo, and that's going to be more profitable, and I'm going to be efficient and all things. So that thing was sitting in a yard, and I was looking at it sitting in a yard, and I was like, what would happen if I applied my skills, to business instead of nonprofits? Like, could I be successful here, and instead of asking for money for the causes I care about, give back to the causes I care about? That was literally my whole intention. I didn't know anything about blue collar grit. I did know my grandfather, like he had a trucking business. He had 2 trucks. He was a superintendent out in the oil fields in Texas. I knew enough, but not much. It was more like I'd spent time in grandpa's shop, right?
Yeah.
And my experience.
You knew he worked hard. But...
I knew he worked super hard, and the girls in the shop were on calendars on the wall. Like,
sure.
Legit, that was my experience,
Those calendars still exist in Europe.
Do they really?
Everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere.
In like the mechanic shops and everything?
Every job trailer.
That's why I want one of my guys.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to bring it back.
It's not men.
Let's bring it back. No, I want our dudes. I want to see them.
Gender.
Yeah, like firefighter style. So I started, so then I went to him and I was like, I want to take on the dumpster company. And at first he's like, probably thinking in his head, no, we need your income. Because I feel like initially he was like, I don't know if you should quit your job. Yeah, maybe wait 6 months. I'm like, no, I want to quit the job and I want to do this. Like, but
so it wasn't him saying, hey, I need you to help over here because I'm over here. You were like,
I want that.
Yeah.
It's like, I want that. Does that surprise you?
No.
I'm curious.
I don't know if that's the read from people.
Yeah.
From where you are right now.
Yeah.
But it makes I get it. I understand it.
Yeah. What's the read? What do you think the read of people is? I'm very fascinated now.
I don't even know.
Next year I'm coming out with a very unapologetically transparent personal brand, like a rebrand.
Oh, good.
It's going to be really fun. And I'm so fascinated by perception right now because I'm kicking it in its pants next year.
Well, I used to pay a lot more attention to it. And I guess as I've gotten a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, you don't care so much.
I don't care so much.
It's a healthy place to be.
Yeah, I'm just doing, because if I do my thing, I'm the only one that can do my thing.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to be influenced by other people and their thing. And it's not that I don't care about their thing. I just want to do my thing.
Yes.
And I think as the business has grown too, I've started to really understand what's important.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't have the time. I don't have the mental bandwidth to be over here thinking about this person or this opinion or whatever it is.
Right.
I need to focus
for
on
me,
my thing.
Of course. But I think for me, like from a personal branding perspective, I want to know what those trigger, and I used to get triggered by them.
I think you've gotten swept up in the past with that whole world. Triggered. Yeah.
Now I'm like,
and I have to. I think everybody in that world
we all have those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're human and it hurts.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you have genuine intention and you're working really hard for something you care about and someone knocks you off your stool.
But that's what has frustrated me with some, you and some people. That's like, have you ever met her? No. Okay, well, just spend time. You'll understand.
Yeah.
And especially, have you ever met her and Trevor?
Yeah. Trevor's amazing.
It makes a lot more sense when you know both of them.
Right.
And you see the business.
But Trevor loves the mystery, and I'm just like, the mystery's killing me over here, man.
Yeah, you guys are opposites in that regard.
It's so good. So now, I've become a student of a really amazing personal branding expert, globally. He's incredible. And he's like, you want to know what your haters say those are triggers. You can build a personal brand off the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And he's like, those are your shadow words that you want to find. Like, I've been called disingenuine or attention seeking or this or that. And he's like, you want to understand the philosophy of that so you can like come out and own that.
Well, and
It's interesting.
I've done that. Yeah. It's like vanguarding's the term I think of it. But like if I say I don't know what I'm doing, then if you say he doesn't know what he's doing, he's like, yeah, he said that already. Then it's like, oh, congratulations. Wow, good for you. Like, oh, you really got him. You said he doesn't. It's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm not an expert on the industry.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to move dirt.
Right.
I don't know how to run a company, not like a company in general.
Same.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Me too.
But I feel like the older you get, the more people in general struggle, the more experience people have.
Yeah.
I think the harder it becomes to lean into that. Whereas I've had the benefit of doing this in my 20s. So it hasn't been that hard to say, I don't know what I'm doing.
For sure.
Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Right. And for me, it's like, I'm trying to win work with, right? Like, and put out that perception, which actually I regret some of that. Like trying to portray that I was something when I was learning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the pressure that we put on ourselves to perform and to be that someone before you are that someone, I kind of just fell victim to that. And
my favorite feature on social media is the mute feature. Have you muted a lot of people?
Oh my gosh, I don't even follow anyone anymore.
It's awesome.
I don't know what's happening.
And it
I'm so out of touch. People send me screenshots of things happening, and I'm just like,
it's like,
how do you have time to care?
Zero personal about it.
Yeah.
It's just I need to focus.
Yeah.
And I don't have the discipline to not scroll and look at shit. I need to be on social media every day for what I'm doing professionally.
Yes.
I don't have the discipline to not fuck off.
Yeah.
So I need to make a system
some sort of
that keeps me away from it.
I like that.
And so that's been actually really good for me.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with anybody but
You'll
me.
have to show me how to mute people. So I've never.
So you haven't muted people?
I've blocked people.
No, you need to mute people.
Which feels kind of weird too, because then it's almost saying you care that much.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
kind of silly. Like, why would I care? I just don't even. Well, for me right now, once I get back full time, because, I've had 3 kids in 5 years. So I don't even have the time to scroll.
And 3 kids?
3 kids in 5 years.
I thought it was 2. 3.
No, we had little surprise Mrs. Aubrey a year and a half ago. Girl, boy, girl. I know. I'm living in the fog, man.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to feel smart, be smart, do smart things. Wow. I'm in one of what everyone's telling me is one of the most difficult seasons when you're building a family is right now. It's very foggy. It's a lot. Well, it's 3 dependents that literally can't do anything on their own.
It is. I've thought a lot about that. I don't have kids, but now I'm around people with children.
Yeah.
And it's like a dog you can leave at home.
Yeah.
A child you can't.
No.
And they're just, and then the
moment
bigger
they need
get, the more they're putting shit in their mouth and running off.
It's just boom, boom,
like
boom.
eating it, like just falling on stuff.
I told Trevor, I think a funny video or recording would be recording me when I'm at home with them for a full day and how many times I referee. Don't put that in your mouth. Put that down. Stop hitting your sister. It's just like boom, 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 boom. And then he's like, I don't understand why you come into the office and you're like a little disconnected. I'm like, I need a minute to like.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine too.
Madness,
Because he just had a kid and he's like, yeah, I've noticed some of these moms, like they talk in child because they're only interacting with small children all the time. And it's like, I hadn't even thought of that. But yes, like they start to because
I've done it. Hi, Miss Pam.
Yes,
Hi, Pam. Welcome to work today. It's really foggy. And it's been really hard for me because I have had to accept showing up different. And it's been devastating because I'm used to showing up like, one of the things are coming out when I talk about those shadow words that people have accused me of like trying to be perfect, right? So I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Yeah.
Like I'm recovering from that right now.
I was just talking to Jason about this the other day.
Learning how to just be, right? And knowing the perfection is in showing up and doing the best I can do every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things like kudos. You're perfect as you're posing with these trucks and your vest is too clean. I mean, all the comments, right? So now I'm like going back and being like, I'm going to own that I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Where does perfectionism come from? Why do people have?
Gosh.
I've never struggled with it. I'm so
just
far from
starting
perfect.
to research it and really deep dive.
Were either of your parents like that?
Yes, my dad.
Yeah.
High performance, excellence, everything perfect. I think some of it for me comes from being a pastor's daughter. Right?
That
front row
definitely
on the stage.
do it.
But I loved that shit. Right? I wasn't like, I'm like, okay, we're going to be on the front row. All our outfits are going to match.
Sure.
We're going to cross our legs. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to play the piano perfectly. Like, right? It just from a young age, performance was a part of our upbringing.
Yeah.
Like we are in front of people. We are on stage.
Your dad was a pastor.
He was a pastor in the Bible Belt.
That's interesting. In Oklahoma?
At a mega church.
And you're somewhat growing up in the public eye at that point then.
Totally.
I don't think people would explain it, but that's exactly what it is.
Totally. If I screw up at school, the private school that's connected to the church, principal's calling my dad down the hall.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's really deep in me.
Yeah.
And where I'm learning, because I really questioned a lot of my decisions this past year. I had a really hard year and how I showed up as a manager. And I'm like, this is not making sense. This isn't me. This doesn't feel like me, like what's going on. And as I've been unraveling it, it was the perfectionism showing up in my management style. It's terrible. It's crippling for the people around you.
Yeah.
And you think it's in your mind, you think you're empowering them to reach their peak performance.
Well, and because it's unreasonable.
It's so unreasonable.
It's unattainable.
And it's not attainable, but because you're striving for it and you think it is, you've deceived yourself into thinking it's possible. So you keep going. And then everyone around you is negatively affected by that. It's one of the biggest, I guess we'd have to ask the team and Trevor. I feel like there's a lot of great things I've done for the business over the last 10 years, but this was one of the disservices I did to the business. One of my weaknesses showed up and I thought it was just affecting me. And when I realized like, okay, now it's coming out on team members and it's crippling them.
Yeah.
And it was devastating for me.
I think a business will only grow as much as the leadership grows. And so that's why I've been so diligent about growing myself.
Yes.
Because I know that the pace of the business, it can only move as fast as I can move.
And I'll catch up to you.
And it can run me over.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because then you can create something that runs you over at the same time.
Yes.
Which has happened to like some very notable people.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to our team about Steve Jobs, for example.
Yes.
He was fired from Apple.
Yeah.
Apple ran him over.
Yeah.
And he was brought back in, but he was a different leader before and after.
Yeah.
There was a lot of growing in between.
Yes.
That then allowed him to do what Apple is known for now.
Yeah.
I think after he was brought back in, but that's why, I've just been so careful about really. I've been really focused, especially over the past few years, on. I think everybody's fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it.
Yeah. No perfect human.
And I read a book that was even, say you have the most perfect childhood, that's great, but you can inherit trauma.
Oh yeah.
From prior generations. Yeah. From your parents' parents. And it had like 100 examples. Yeah. So it wasn't this theoretical thing. It's like, I've been studying this for my entire life, thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
And that dictates your relationships, your life, your business.
You show up.
Everything. And it can dictate to you your entire life.
Yeah.
And you don't even know.
And you won't know. It's subconscious. So Trevor and I have talked about that, like some of our subconscious patterns.
Yes.
That it's like, we don't know where it came from. Probably the generational trauma. Probably some things happened that triggered it, kept it growing and growing. But we have to focus on those things. So to be honest with you, hearing you say, like, I've been so focused on growing myself, it's like, I didn't focus on that at all.
Yeah, because
for 10 years.
You're focused on your people and your kids.
So then I'm a hero, right?
You're focused on everybody else.
That's what I told myself.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm a good leader.
Mm-hmm. I've seen women do this a lot.
Really?
I've noticed it.
We ignore ourselves.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just a man versus woman thing, but I've noticed a lot of, especially recently, like it's just pouring in others, pouring in others, pouring in others, and then there's nothing there for them.
Empty.
Which then sets everything back. Yes. Ironically.
Yes. So truthfully, we had a Steve Jobs moment this year where Trevor had to sit me down and be like, "Do you need to go?" And I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's our business. It's our people." And when he kind of like helped me see what was happening in the perfectionistic management style and the pressure I was putting on myself, and I was crumbling because I wasn't investing in me. Mm-hmm. So you almost bring everyone down with you. Mm. You know, when you're in a leadership position, you have to really watch that and know when it's time to take some time.
Yeah.
And he was like, if this doesn't get better, like, do we have this discussion of you being done? Mm-hmm. And that was like gut wrenching, but so healing and humbling. Like that moment where it's like, okay, I need a minute. Like I never took any maternity leaves after my kids, which social media like praised me for. They praise hustle culture, even if it's not healthy.
Sure.
That was not healthy. A good friend would be like, yo, not good.
Like when you had your kids, how quickly back?
Days.
Yeah.
Days.
That's wild.
Isabel and I were getting a permit from the Department of Labor when she was 5 days old.
I remember you telling.
I posted that picture and everyone's like, rah, yes. Yeah. And I'm just like, and that was filling. I let that external validation like fill my cup. And external validation is great, but it doesn't mean what you're doing is great for yourself.
Sure.
But this is what's crazy. So Tucker, I took maybe like a week. He was born in October, right? Busy season. But Aubrey is where I really screwed up because that was my third child in 4 years. And I'd never given my body mental time to recover, right? And to find my new normal. And my only identity was in being a business owner. That was the only identity I knew. And that was I was praised for. And so I thought I got to stay doing that.
Yeah.
And so Aubrey was born in April of 2023. And that was a big year where a lot of projects were put on pause because of inflation and interest rates. Uh-huh. And so for Aubrey, she was coming up April of last year. And no, Erin, I'm getting my years wrong. No, she turned 1 Yeah, 2023. Okay, so a week before she was born, I was like, I'm going to take 3 weeks off. I'm going to take maternity leave. I deserve that. And really our office team was like, you need to take some time. Mm-hmm. Like, this isn't healthy. Luckily, I have strong mamas in this office.
Yeah.
And they were like, you got to go. Like, take some time for you. So I had it all planned out. And a week before Aubrey was born, our pipeline was full for the summer. So as business development, that's my core responsibility here. My job was done, like for a moment, right? So I could take some time off. So we find out a week before Aubrey was born, Trevor came to me and he's like, hey, this project got put on pause. And I was like, ooh, okay. I'm like, okay, but we still have the other 2. So that will carry us through. So I can still take my time. 2 days later, hey, that second project put on pause.
And that's what people don't understand, I feel like, in the construction world, is that you can get the contract, you can have a date to go. Sometimes you can go, and then they can just at any time say,
we changed our mind.
Yeah.
We're put on pause.
Yeah.
The developer
out of our hands.
Doesn't want to go. A law changes with rent. So a law changed with rent prices in St. Paul, Minnesota. Uh-huh. And developers put all their projects on pause. So I'm like, I start getting like Alicia Bretzel from Brooks in Pennsylvania calls
just with her a few weeks
They're
ago.
amazing.
Yeah.
She
her and AJ have come out twice.
Dirt Road
now.
Summit.
Yeah,
okay, but do you know now with the 3 kids, I'm a little strapped, but next year I think I can leave
they've got
them.
more kids.
I know. Shoot. I know, she's like superhuman.
I don't know how they do it.
she has family clothes. So she's like, I have good help. Family clothes.
They're another one. I just want to spend a day with them.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can I just live with you for a day to just see what the heck happens here?
Can I come with and be like, can I please know how you do it? But she's told me they have family clothes, and I'm like, gosh, I literally am begging my mom, who's in Houston, like, come move in with us. So I could make it happen.
Yeah.
So a week before Aubrey was born, this is actually hard to talk about, and I haven't really like gone on record to talk about it because I think it's tied to just an unraveling for me and really painful season. But it's good for me to talk about because people need to hear the unhealthy side of not taking care of yourself and putting the business first. Because the business could have been fine. I don't know. I will never know because I jumped right in and I didn't give myself time. So then 2 days before Aubrey was born, the third project from our pipeline was done. And it was our biggest year. We had just recruited some amazing people, like dream team, right? People were walking in our doors wanting to work for us, hearing about us, hearing how we are to our people. So we had like this dream team surfacing and a dream pipe crew. And if you don't put your pipe crew to work, they gone.
Sure.
Right. So Trevor came to me and then Aubrey was born and we went to a restaurant at a bar and we were both kind of like in tears, almost like we gotta go to work. And he looked at me because all the relationships are pretty much mine. You know, I do all of the business development. I'm super connected and have just built amazing relationships in the industry. And he kind of looked at me like, I'm so sorry. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
You're the one. And so I strapped Aubrey on my back and went to the U of M, went to CS McCrossin, went and met and just cried the blues almost like, hey, with Aubrey in the seat, or I was wearing her at one of the meetings. Ames was at that meeting, wearing her on a sack and being like, we need work. Can you put a pipe crew to work? Can you put excavation crew to work? Like, can we do footings for the primes, right? Because we have the ability to be nimble and kind of go to primes and say, can you subcontract us out? Well, they were all slow too. But lucky enough, we sat down with CS McCrossin. Tom's a neighbor of ours. And I just said, we got to put this pipe crew to work. And he was like, funny enough, we have got so much utility backlog. And he put us on site literally in the nick of time where we would have had to lay off all of our people.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, we made it. But by then, Aubrey's 3-4 weeks old. And then it's our first DOT job. And we have compliance to figure out. We have this, we that. So did I take a break? No.
Yeah.
And that just really, I really should have. And now I just kept going, right? And again, there's a lot of things happening here. There's the perfectionism there. My identity is tied to my success as a business owner. I don't know how to have my identity tied to being a successful wife or mother, which is important. I don't know what that looks like. So I'm just going to go over here.
Because that's what you're comfortable with.
That's where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
This is really uncomfortable for me. And I don't get any accolades here, allegedly. You actually do. That's your future, right?
Sure.
No one's saying like, yes, good job staying at home in your pajamas today, Missy, and like hugging your babies. No one's saying that online.
Yeah.
Like manufactured motherhood is you do it all. And that's what you're given praise for. So that's what I did. And now I'm hoping next year as I come out with my personal brand, a more unapologetically transparent brand of I'm looking not for validation anymore, but for meaning in the people that are in my sphere, including my family and my husband. And if you praise me or if you don't, I'm still going to tell that story. And it's so important.
Well, and it's extra complicated because you and Trevor, you have this relationship and family, but this business that takes priority.
Yeah, that provides for families.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's like significant amount of time that can go with you maybe not thinking about the relationship.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because you're together all the time.
For sure.
but you're
that
not
doesn't mean shit.
One
like
another.
I'll be like, Trevor, we need a date night. And he's like, we've been together all week. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Yes.
But I want to like hang out. I want to go line dancing.
Yeah.
It's super easy to let that go and to let that get by. And it's so dangerous because then, like for me, then we're not living out our own value of family.
This whole thing is what drives me nuts about the women in construction conversation.
Ugh, don't get me started, Aaron.
Because it's so unrealistic.
It's unhealthy.
It ignores
healthy.
Yeah. And that's what drives me nuts. It's like, we need more women in construction. We need more women in construction. We need more. Yes. Okay, cool. What hours do your people average? How many hours a week do they do? 60?
What does that actually
70?
look like?
80? Weekends? Nights? What does that look like?
Shifts?
Wait, they have so this woman has 2 young kids, or what happens when she's pregnant? Like, what do you do? What are you doing for her?
And what is the societal expectation?
Yeah.
She goes to the doctor's appointments. She picks him up from daycare.
Yes.
That is reality.
Well, Jessica, who runs my life until like 2 months ago when she selfishly had a child, and I say that very jokingly. But so it was my first time like around somebody pregnant, like close from like a work standpoint. She has appointments all the time.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. Yeah. I thought you go to the doctor once in a while and they're like, yep, good,
no,
nice
you just
baby.
show up after 9 months and have that baby. And then...
I had no idea. I don't know.
I love that for you, Aaron, that you got to experience
It's all the time.
Yeah.
And it's no problem for us because we're flexible. Just do whatever you need to do. Yeah. But I was like, if you had a normal job and you had 2 weeks off a year that you can't really use during the summer because it's the busy season, like, how does this even math? How do you do this?
It doesn't math.
It doesn't.
It doesn't math. And I brought up, like, we were fortunate enough to be in Las Vegas for Equipment World's Contractor of the Year program. Right? And we were in a room of 10 contractors from around the country who were amazing. And we started talking about this. My narrative and my conversation around women in construction has changed, and I've actually gone silent on it because I want to study and understand what am I going to stand for, because what I stood for was really unhealthy and it didn't work, and it sets unrealistic expectations on what women can and can't do.
Yeah.
Or men that are single dads. I know single dads. It's parents, right?
Yeah.
So I took some time. I'm taking time to really develop that. But I was sitting in this room with all these contractors, and one was a woman-owned and led contractor. And I said, we need to talk about shifts. And I know it's uncomfortable, but the women in construction movement doesn't work if the shifts expected are sun up to sundown. Which is what our industry counts on.
Yeah.
And it's been able to work because amazing men were able to go. In the 50s, it was a societal norm that women were home.
Yeah.
And the man went to work, right? Yeah. So that created the structure. Don't you tiptoe in.
Whatever you need to do.
You get what you need. That's super
you're
strong
completely
single
fine.
mama Rendy.
Yeah.
She's the reason our roll-off company runs. Oh, yes. So I'm sitting in the room, and I literally said it out of my mouth, and I thought, and one of the contractors was like, you can't do that. And I'm like, but why? Well, what are the guys going to say? So it's favoritism now. So she gets to have a special shift because we got to be equals. And I'm like, but we're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the guys can't breastfeed their child. This is a scientific difference here, lady.
But this is and it's like, how has this become crazy to say? Like, that's what I scratch my head. I'm like,
down on at. Well, I wouldn't say. I guess everyone. I'm going to say it. I felt like everyone was like, when I said it, and so then I immediately, because of my perfectionist, because I was a perfectionist at the time. Now I'm recovering. I'm recovering from that addiction, but I was like, oh, I better not say that because that's not accepted by the popular folks. I should just stay women in construction. You know what it took for me was our female driver, Lisa, who is amazing. Her driving career put her kids through college, got her out of the trailer park, which we now give back to. Like, she's a boss, right? She came up to me. She's like, I don't agree with this whole women in construction movement. I want one of your sweatshirts because I have that woman in construction sweatshirt, but I don't agree with it. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
She's like, you need to be home with those babies. And I'm like, what? Like, don't you need me? Like, don't you need me here doing dispatch and customer service and running payroll and all things? She's like, I don't know. She's like, it's just not realistic. She's like, what I did was hard and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone unless things change.
Sure.
And she's like, I sacrificed a lot for what she was able to do.
Yeah.
She's here telling me as a woman in construction, hey, your women in construction conversation, I don't fully agree with it. And also, you need to take a pause and go home and be with your family for a second.
But that's what I've observed with the women in construction thing is the women in construction aren't stoked on the women in construction thing. And it's like, wait a minute. What's going on here? Wouldn't they be the ones like, this is awesome, finally? Like, they're the ones saying, just keep me out of it. Yeah. We don't want to be a part. And I was talking to Kelly Veit about this yesterday. Yeah. She was saying, the field and the office are different.
Very.
You can't apply the field to the office. You can't apply the office to the field.
You can't.
And I feel like that is part of it. Like, we're trying to apply the office to the field. But it's like, no, you need somebody in the ditch. Yeah. Sometimes on Christmas morning.
Yes.
Sometimes Christmas Eve. Yes. Overnight in the fucking cold. Mm-hmm. Like, you need that.
Yeah.
But then you also need the people in the office doing the damn payroll, making sure the insurance is squared away, getting the business development done.
Yes.
You need that.
So they have work.
Yeah. And I think the industry can't forget who's paying the bills.
No.
It's the person in the ditch.
Yeah.
It's the person, moving that machine.
Earning the money.
Yeah. That's a bill. That's critical. All that's billable. Critical. This office isn't billable.
No. Trevor reminds me of that every
overhead.
day.
Yeah. But so I think the office needs to have that understanding.
Yeah.
But the overall business needs to have the understanding of everybody here plays a part.
Yeah.
And just because somebody works in the office is not lesser than. Just because somebody's in the field and they use certain language, it's not lesser than.
Yeah.
We're all a team here.
We're all important.
And women in construction, that you go into most construction offices, it's a majority women. It's like, why? But why don't we talk more about that? Like, women are really the ones behind the scenes of the industry, making this whole thing work.
I was corrected, by the way, by a woman in construction for starting to show some pride that I do behind the scenes work. They're like, well, we feel like you're like making us seem small behind the scenes. And I'm just like, can I just be myself and say what I actually do? Or do you want pictures of me in front of equipment, which isn't what I do,
But you can.
I've given myself permission to recently.
Yeah.
Yes. But having her say that, and here's something wild. So we have really aggressive goals in Minnesota for the DBE, woman-owned, minority-owned, the whole things. And I was at a meeting with other big primes who were talking about how are we going to meet these aggressive state of Minnesota. One, we do one of the worst at meeting the goals, but then the pool of competent contractors is very small, so it's reality.
Yeah.
But two, we do bad at workforce, all the things. And I'm like, I brought up at this meeting, I said, why can't the office staff count? So women office staff don't count towards the workforce goals. And I'm like, that's bullshit. And they were like, oh, you can't. Well, we got to get women out in the field, and those are the roles where we need to push. I'm like, but do we? Because both of the women that work in my office still get to go to hockey games, still run them to hockey practice, still do all the doctor's appointments. Like, that wouldn't work for them. But you're saying their hard work in our office to keep these guys running doesn't count?
Yeah, it's insulting.
I'm sorry, but that's BS. And it just got a little quiet in the meeting. And I'm like, oh, there I am again, but I'm totally comfortable being uncomfortable. It's kind of scary almost. It's just like, oh, what's this going to turn into? But
no, but that's why I'm trying to lean into it a little bit more. It's like, I need to say the stuff I'm thinking and believing. And I'm not saying that none of what I say is the gospel or right, but it's like, I don't know. It's again, strange to me.
It's a conversation, right?
Yeah. And safety's another one. It's like, we're going to signal to everybody how safe we are by doing these things. that don't really make a difference, but look like it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we're going to sweep under the rug like
mental
the massive
safety
addiction problem that we have and the horrible stuff happening on site, like with these people
suicide,
after hours.
like mental safety.
Sweep it under the rug. Like
what in the world?
Because we can't do that. We can't do anything about it. It's their personal time.
Again, my moment to say that's bullshit.
Or even like just health, like from a safety standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is somebody 100 pounds overweight more likely to be injured on a job site by a slip, trip, or fall?
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yep.
Yep.
And are we having those conversations in our safety meetings?
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things I'm trying to bring into our safety program is mental safety and health and wellness. And like, how are you as a person and showing up for your family and showing up for yourself? And again, I asked the union, I had them come sit down in our office and I was like, hey, like I've been looking at the statistics on the health and well-being and wellness of our union operators and what services do you provide? Because I spend a lot of money on the union, right? So my guy makes, let's just say 40 an hour. What I pay for him is 60 an hour, 20 an hour goes to the union. So union, like not that they're the need to solve all of our industry's problems, but as a business, I'm paying for it. What are you doing for their mental health, their safety? Do you have pamphlets? Oh no, they can just call the union. They can call this number. And I'm like, call this number? We got to do better than that. I'm sorry. Like, who are they working with? Can they come present at our safety meetings? That counselor that I pay for, I ask, can he come present at our safety meeting on family or something? Well, we've never been asked that before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you send me his number? Well, you'd probably have to pay him. Fine.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever I need to do.
Are you serious? No one wants this. It's just PPE and trench.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it?
Yeah, let's the one that just drives me nuts.
And we hope you stay and your kids want to work for us when you're like not even mentally healthy and addicted. Ugh, don't even get me started. Aaron, don't poke the bear right now. I'm trying to be better.
It gets me fired up, but back to the women construction thing. It's like I think you are a like a great spokesperson for that, though.
I'm so scared of it, though.
Yeah, but that means you're onto something.
I suppose. Don't say that publicly.
That actually means you're going somewhere. Because it's just like that realistic conversation about it is nowhere to be found.
No.
Which and I struggle with talking about it because it's like, who the fuck am I?
Yeah,
I'm 29 years old.
Aaron, that you never
I have
talk
no
about
kids.
It. Yeah,
I'm not a woman.
What are you gonna say?
I'm a white guy. Yeah. So on and so. You go on the list. I'm Mr. Privilege. Grew up upper class. Yeah. All those things totally true.
Yes.
But I'm also spectating the industry. Spectating on all of this from a very unique. I have a very unique seat.
Right.
In all of this.
Right.
And I just can't help but to scratch my head sometimes and ask some questions.
And I used to be bothered that you never talked about it. I was like, well, if you're going to make the dirt world a better place, why aren't you talking about women in construction, right?
Yeah.
I'm just being like, we're friends, right? And now I admire that you have stepped back and been like, I have to understand this first. I want to see I'm not a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been through that process yet until Ashley, right? Babies and family and what does that look like right up close, right? Yeah. So now I can look at that and be like, I admire that you've like taken some space from that. It's a complicated conversation. And what's funny is that all the brands like ran to me for being like the spokesperson woman in construction.
Because they need to check the box.
Right.
We need to check the box.
It was purely transactional.
Let's check the box. We're good.
No one ever actually asked me like, what is it like being a woman in construction and all those transactions? Those transactional moments of being a spokesperson and putting me on the pedestal. Not one brand or person asked me, what is it like being a woman in construction? Mm-hmm. Has it been easy? Has it been hard? What are you navigating? What things could we do better? How can we help? And so then once I realized like I'm not saying no one cares. People care. They do.
Yeah.
But my experience right now is you're not actually caring. So I completely shut it off. I backed off. I said, but that's not healthy either. Then I was like, I'm not talking about it. I'm going to be behind the scenes, which I'm very proud of what I do and what my team does behind the scenes. And I'm just going to shut that whole conversation down because it's so uncomfortable for me. It's so uncomfortable. And the other reason it's uncomfortable for me is like our company is built off the sweat of men who are amazing. I can't be like rah women in construction and forget that that's not what we are.
And that's been the other interesting thing is I've seen it create more resentment.
Yes.
Which is like
the last thing you want.
This is the opposite outcome that you're creating by doing this.
Yes.
But you're not out in the field to see it.
Correct.
And that, but and
I think some of our guys were kind of offended by the pedestal. And again, I didn't chase that pedestal. All the brands were like, oh, a woman in construction who can talk. Like, she should be the spokesperson for it.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't ask her what it's actually like, but just get up there and smile by that piece of equipment, would you?
You're in the DB, MBE world that you've already referenced.
Yeah.
That's a whole other can of worms. But I think the perception also is that it's just, if you're a woman,
I know.
It's just, here you go. Oh, we need more of women businesses. So here's your certification. But I spoke with you plenty through the process, and I probably got a glimpse of like a percent of what the hell it was going on. But I know you jumped through a whole lot of hoops to make that happen.
We are one of the hardest type of businesses to certify.
Yeah.
And our certification specialist presents us to a board, and he said it wasn't easy. We were a 3-hour presentation. Normally it's 30 to 45 minutes. Yes or no? And he spent 3 hours because we're a 51-49 in ownership.
Yeah.
And I acquired my equity in the company through work. I was never paid.
Yeah.
I put in the time.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of it, and I like the program and that it's hard to get certified. I do like that because what they're fighting against is in the 90s just to meet the goals out of desperation.
Someone would sign their wife up.
Which also, I understand because you look at the pool of contractors to meet the goals and then the state goals, they don't align.
Not at all.
It doesn't work. You're setting up primes who are amazing primes like Vite and McCrossan and all the local like Ames. You're setting them up for failure to not even win great work.
Well, and then when you do get the work, you're getting a shittier quality because they're plugging these holes to meet these goals with contractors that are typically not qualified to do the work. They're in over
their skis. And I go to the meetings with those contractors, the DBE contractors, and they're like, well, I'm a painter and a truck driver and a this, and I'm in the program. And I'm like, and you're bidding a DOT job? Like, you probably shouldn't do that. Like, can I help you a little bit? Like, hold on. So it is refreshing for us and for the primes in our area that we're a competent contractor. We've put in the time, like we can show up and do the work. But we're also not trying to be a contractor that just checks a box. Like, that's not what we want.
Well, you're there on merit. Yeah, you're not there.
Here because our guys are the bomb, like .com, which Trevor tells me not to say that anymore. He's like, you're so dating yourself.
That's okay.
But the bomb.com.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Whatever you want here.
So that whole world, I'm just getting into it and I'm like, ooh, this is kind of an ugly system.
Yeah.
Again, here we are. Like, what? God, why are you putting me in the middle of these complex conversations?
You have found,
I found myself in a bit of a conundrum. Yeah. So
you
either
should have just stayed in fundraising.
I should have stayed in the nonprofit world and been like, let's just help people.
Just left it in the parking lot.
Just help people like screw waste and dumpsters.
Took the roll-off truck to auction, called it a day.
Or, when I had my little Apple moment with Trevor this year, I should have been like, I'm good. Fire me.
Yeah.
As things get complicated, I'm out.
Yeah, this sounds better.
Literally, I had to go through that process because I'm like, gosh, but then I'm like, I can't give up. I believe in it too much. I care too much. I see things differently. I'm getting unscared to talk about it.
Which is great.
Which is scary, but good. It feels healthy and people are going to probably message and why did you say this? But now, like you said, I care less.
But And you're just saying what you believe, which is freeing.
I'm speaking my truth.
Yeah, when you don't have to dance around certain things,
Yeah.
it makes it so much.
Yes.
Like we were just talking about this in our executive meeting the other day. There was 5 of us, me and 4 others that run the company.
Yeah.
And we all have equal parts in
Yeah.
running the company.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone does more or less than anybody else. We are
That's
all
awesome.
like critical
Yeah.
to the business.
That's good to see your team that way.
But I'll go into some of these, I'll see these other corporate worlds, not necessarily construction, just other stuff. And like all the politicking and posturing and, well, I can say this, but I can't say that. And it's just like, oh, how exhausting.
We're trying to make humans corporations, and we have to stop.
Or like, yeah, you meet somebody that's been at a corporation for like 20 years. Like, where'd your personality go?
Yeah.
Like, what happened to you?
They're not
have you
allowed to
laughed
have one.
since 2008? Like,
Right. Right.
Where'd you go? Where are you? Like, I know you're in there.
And the fear I used to have was we're not going to get work if I speak my truth.
Well, yeah.
So I had I walked this line, right? But now I think we're in a secure enough place, right? As you grow in business, you get to different milestones where you're like, okay, now I can kind of open up a little more now. But at the same time, it's like, well, if someone doesn't want to work with me, like for speaking my truth, do I want to work with them?
And I think once you lean into it, though, it actually ends up making things a lot better. It's just like that chasm in between.
Yeah.
You just have to go into the unknown, and it's really scary to do that.
It's very scary.
But if you really,
it feels so good.
But if you go in 2 feet, you got to jump in.
Yeah.
It ends up working out really well.
Thank you for telling me that, because I just started telling myself.
Well, I think it's
going to be okay.
You get in trouble when you're putting your toes in one camp and you still got a foot in the other.
Yeah. You're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Or you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to so for me, I've just been trying to figure it out.
Which is fine. Like, take time to figure it out.
Like, what do I actually believe as I'm walking out being a woman in construction?
And I don't think you ever figure it out either. Like, I think you're completely entitled to have an opinion today that differs from an opinion next year.
Yes, as you grow.
And to say, man, I got that one wrong. And I got some new data. Here's what I've learned as a result.
And it's
this part of that was right. And I'm going to double down there. But this part, totally wrong.
Yeah.
But then that gives you more credibility.
For sure.
Like, I talked about, I feel like I talked about this already, but we went through a period where making payroll was tricky.
Don't say that in public. Obviously, we all do. Yes.
I remember the nights where I was just up, like, scared shitless. Like, what in the fuck am I going to do?
It would have helped you feel normal.
Well, yeah, but
it's hard.
And so I didn't talk about it publicly during, but I made a post about it not too long ago, and I was talking with somebody coming in, like a new hire, and I was like, what do you think, this and that? She called my post out about us nearly missing payroll as one of the reasons why she wanted to work for us.
Isn't that awesome?
And it's like, on paper, it would be the opposite.
Correct.
But in practice,
to
you, this
you
is
got
said,
a gritty go-getter.
I'm a real person. This
you got
is a real
gritty
business.
Go-getter who's like, I'm in.
They're not going to bullshit me.
Yes.
And I want to be a part of that.
Yes.
And it's like, and she's been great. It's like, well, go figure.
Yes.
Huh.
They're the gritty ones.
Yeah.
Who are just like, we're in it to win it with you. We know that means trench time. We know that means, up on the hill looking over a complete project, but we want to be in the trenches. That's how you attract good people.
Yeah.
Is your real story.
Well, and
who you are.
And so this is where it's not just the women in construction thing, but it's like the inclusion thing. We want this to be a place for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not a place for everybody.
Yeah.
Construction, no, it should never be, but it is not.
Yeah.
It's like, that's the reality. That's what I struggle with this fake world, like, imposing itself on reality. But it's like, but it's reality.
Yes.
It's not for everybody.
Yes.
It's not supposed to be for everybody.
In diversity meetings right now, and I worked in at-risk neighborhoods. I had a career in at-risk neighborhoods for 10 years. Primary population Hispanic, which I am, so I can say that, and African American. their exposure, like, so DOT is going to put these goals on, right? But kids that grow up in neighborhoods like that, exposure to this industry is so minimal.
Yeah.
They are in a city, they see big towers, they think, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor, and that's what successful is.
Yeah.
Not only that, the Union Training Center, which I believe you've been to the one here in Minnesota.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah.
Most of the kids in at-risk neighborhoods that represent the diversity we need on our job sites take the bus to school and to work. They are not driving 2 hours away to a training center to be able to build a career.
Yeah.
As a heavy equipment operator. Union would have to build something downtown if you want to see this diversified workforce. So it's like a bunch of hog shit. Like, it's just like, it doesn't work. But we can find things that can work. So I had this idea of making a call center. I literally was sitting by the president of a big prime in the Twin Cities. And I was like, I have this idea on how we can meet these diverse workforce goals. I want to start a call center, ticketing center, downtown Minneapolis. I know that proximity is very important for a diverse workforce. Mm-hmm. They have to be able to walk to work or take the bus to work. Mm-hmm. And don't taboo me for saying that. I've worked in the neighborhood for 9 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I worked on the south side of Chicago. I was at 100 in Michigan, not at Burberry. Okay. I understand a little bit. So I said, hey, let's start a call center and a ticket counting center. How many trucks go through DOT jobs? How many trucks, right? How many tickets do we have to process? How many tickets have to be scanned and accounted for? Compliance documents, phone calls, brokering trucks. Let's start a center in downtown Minneapolis. I found a building. Let's do that. And those goals don't count.
Yeah, because they're, yeah.
What? Those goals don't count. But that's a real opportunity for diversifying our industry right now here in Minnesota. Where the equity sits, I'm going to get in so much trouble for having this conversation, and I don't even care.
Well, yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but this makes sense, but then that doesn't count. So what, it just like, so for me, I'm really on to something I'm really pushing here in the Twin Cities because, the murder of George Floyd happened here. Like, we're in a mecca of like change and an industry that's like people open to change, driving change, and I'm bringing up the complexities of this conversation, and I'm going there because I'm just like, we got to go here. Then there's something wrong, and do I need to sit on council? Like, what do I need to do to get involved on the legislative side? Because this is setting everyone up for failure and stopping people from having real opportunity.
That's the cool thing about private business, though, is that at a certain point you can go do that. Mm-hmm. You don't need to go get someone else's permission to do it. No, whether it meets goals or not. Yeah, you can go do it. Yeah. Which I think is really, really cool. Yeah. I don't say construction should not be for everybody. I mean it from like they look at it from like a what they can see perspective. Mm-hmm. You got to meet your DE&I goals based on what people look like. I just mean it from like we need gritty people, man. Yeah. We need people, again, that are willing. It's cold outside right now. Yeah. Your people are working today. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's willing to do that. No. And that's okay.
And most of them grew up doing that. They grew up on farms. Yeah. It's just like, what are we going to do, people? Like, that's in their blood. Yeah. And I know that's not every culture. Like, we need to start owning like societal norms and societal infrastructure and what is really possible and build that into our goals. And for me, success is our white guys having enough work for the year to put food on their table for their family. Is that not noble? Is that not a successful program? And most of them have daughters. Okay. Is that diverse enough right now for you guys? Is that I just busted my butt to put everyone to work and to make sure their daughters and their children and their future is provided for?
While we're building the community.
And we're building this community. I'm trying to convince Trevor to put all our machines out there and wrap Christmas lights so the community can drive through and get exposed.
He should. Why not?
But that doesn't make money, Aaron.
What? Oh.
Giving us the time marker. Where's Trevor? Yeah. Mysterious Trevor is going to dodge a bullet here.
He's gonna come in right when the conversation's over.
Literally 2 minutes.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to be here today. Like, okay,
when he walks in, be like, "Oh, we just ended," and like have him come sit down and just start talking. I forget where, but yeah, I think the conversation is going to get exciting in the industry, and I really admire the way you're looking at it and that you're standing back and saying like, what is all this, instead of just jumping in. I mean, I just jumped in and was like, yes, I'll be the woman in construction. I'll do it. And then I was just like, whoa.
Well, I'm just trying to be realistic.
I like it.
The goal is we need to build the infrastructure our society needs into the future.
Yes.
We need and that requires a certain kind of person.
Yes.
It's hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It has been hard work, is hard work, will always be hard work.
Yes.
And that's why I don't get excited about the technology and stuff like that when it's presented as like a savior.
A replacement
because
of people.
It's not. Yes,
like,
it's not. It's like,
that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tool in a niche application.
100%.
But you still need somebody in a ditch with a shovel.
Who puts pride in what they do every day. And taking their pride away and saying we're here to replace you is not a good sales tactic. So then I as an owner have to work triple hard for them to adapt into something. Now you've like closed, you've offended them. Right?
Yeah, this is like, and that's my thing with like how simulators are positioned. Something like I'm going to pick on simulators. I'm a huge fan of simulators. Yeah. I think they're an incredible tool for training people.
Yes.
All for it.
Yes.
But the way they're sometimes positioned, not even by the simulator companies, is like, this is how we're going to get kids into the industry. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's part of it. I would say
it could be a piece of the pie.
It's a tool. It's a piece of the puzzle. But I've sat in a simulator. I've sat in an excavator. The excavator is a lot cooler.
Yes. Yes.
And I know you can't bring that to high school.
Take your kid to work day. Bring it back. But they're not allowed on the job site.
I know, and it's like I'm not even picking on the simulator companies. Yeah. I'm not even picking on the companies with simulators.
Yeah.
But I've just seen it positioned as like, this is why kids are going to be in the industry. Yeah. It's like, no.
And they love video games.
Yeah, they love video games. It's like, dude, go play a video game and just compare the graphics on some of this stuff. Like they're used to some wild stuff that seems like almost real at this point. But like why are we trying to make like the industry's cool? Building stuff's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Is. And we're trying to attract manufactured kids, and we want gritty kids.
Yes.
We want kids that like our families, for our family day, they line up at the trucks and the excavator and they want to get in, they want to experience it. That's the kid I want. I want the kid who was here all summer when he could have been somewhere else, counting trash tickets and starting to understand our software and being like, well, what does LEED certified mean? And what is this? And it's just like, there we go. Like, you don't want to be with your friends right now. You want to be here and get gritty and like understand and go ride in the truck and call waste management. Like, this is awesome, right?
When you make your company not for everybody, it ironically builds a stronger culture, a better company that builds better stuff. Yeah. That attracts more people.
I hope so.
It's like,
I've seen it enough to tell me keep going, because it's not easy to be a different duck. Right?
No,
it's a harder path.
It's really hard, and that's why I don't blame a lot of the older school contractors and people that have been in the industry for a long time, because it's like I would be doing the exact same thing that they are. Mm-hmm. Hey, we've got a good thing going. Let's just keep working. We're making more money than we've ever made before. Our margins are like, why change? Why would we do anything different?
Why
it's like, I don't blame you at all.
Yes.
But the world's a very different place.
It is. And it's coming faster than we think.
Yeah.
And I just think the next generation wants something so much more tangible and real.
Yeah. They want it to be real.
And that's going to mean getting uncomfortable and scary as leaders.
Yeah.
And owners, and being more transparent. And
we did something at a certain, I'm going to try to make this as vague as possible, because I don't want to hurt any feelings. That's not my intention. We did something and I thought it was amazing, real, wildly effective. But then there was a group of people that said, well, this doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
but it was real.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
like, wait, but this is
because
this is real.
I've been in those positions,
like
and
that.
I know it's real. And to me, it's really attractive to me because I know it's real.
Yes.
But and that happens all over the place. Like, if we were really serious about safety, we'd be sharing our accidents on the internet, for example.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah, because there's 100 reasons why, and there are 100 good reasons.
Right,
but it's
you learn the most. Like our company, when we went through, something like that, we learned so much. Like going through an epic fail of like, and it was a subconscious pattern and behavior built into two guys that have been doing this forever. Right. So it's just keep moving. Oh, just trench box it. And then it was like, whoa, we're lucky. That was an epic fail.
Yeah.
But then when I look at this office and like what we learned from, so I had to go into the litigation piece. I had to be a part of the legal process, the compliance process, the making it right process. And I wasn't scared of it. I was like, and I literally had a conversation with OSHA and they didn't know what to do with me. I was like, but where were you to tell us that this was important when we were first starting out? Because we've been paying fees into the Department of Labor for 10 years and I didn't know.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm supposed to be competent and understand that. But do you guys offer any sort of training or proactive work that we can do? And they were all just kind of like, no, we just give tickets and go around and yell at everybody and tell you suck. And, I'm just like, you guys got to do better. Like we're an up and coming contractor. We want to do the right thing, but you've got to do better. Like so you run around and just give tickets. Like,
but in their defense, that's all they're able to do.
It's true.
Which is crazy.
True.
Like,
it's true. But
I've talked to people at MSHA. They're like, this is, we work off a book from 1970 something.
It's true.
Because that's all we can do.
Yes.
And it's like, you can't go outside.
And the guy was
legally,
like,
we can't.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
He's like, we want to do better at having programs and education and he's like, but we're just kind of, our hands are tied. And I was like, I understand. But we learned so much from that fail. I engaged our insurance company. I was like, listen, we're paying this much for insurance. What do you offer us for help with our safety program?
Yeah.
Like I started putting our professional services to work for us and they showed up and they did awesome things to help us become better. So I'm like, gosh, I wish I could own this. And I literally was like, I wish I could own this epic fail and like talk about all the things we learned, but it's so taboo.
It is,
which is a bummer.
Like if I were to ask Trevor, like, what's the best lesson you've learned on a job? He's not going to go tell me the best job he's ever been. Oh, we had this one job. It went perfect. We delivered it ahead of schedule by just a wide margin and we made so much money.
Yeah. No.
It's not going to be that one.
No.
I guarantee you it's going to be the ugliest duckling of the bunch because it's like that for everybody.
The few.
I've never even talked to Trevor about it, but if I were to guess, yeah.
That's where you never do that again.
it's every contractor.
It's like, oh, I hit that line, I did this, and it scares the shit out of you. Yeah. And then you're like, I will never not follow that safety protocol again. And it's unfortunate, but it's human nature. But people forget we're people. We're human. And that's like how we learn. Like that's how we're scientifically wired. But we got to get better at talking about the ugly ducklings in the room. And I hope that next year as I start to come back out and emerge as just Missy Scherber, that people are open to me talking about some of the ugly ducklings in the room. And if they're not, I'm okay with that because it's for me and the few that it's for.
Yeah. I think there will be more people than ever before that will respond well to it.
That's my hunch, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I also I appreciate that there's a political game to play too. Mm-hmm. I can't just say, "Oh, these rules are stupid."
I know.
The safety department is super stupid. These big companies are stupid. It's like
so many dynamics.
Yeah, I don't employ 5,000 people.
Yeah.
So I can't. Like again, if I were in their position, I would be doing the same. But I don't blame them.
And then the work you get
slightest.
could get pulled if you say this or say that, or someone comes after you. They're even saying that people are on the internet watching and now looking for safety stuff and whatever. And I'm like, but are you what about emotional safety and mental safety for
people
people?
say the safety stuff I've never found an instance of somebody being fined because of something on the internet.
Where
MSHA or OSHA.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I could be proven wrong.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of it.
Right.
I've never heard of it.
Right. Now my guys will send me pictures, because not every moment's perfect, right? This is what stinks too. You could be moving this pile, right? And you're doing it.
Maybe like a half bucket.
You got a bucket left and so-and-so's like, oh, the sun is shining, and you take a picture and then it's like, you put it on that, sloping is not accurate, blah, blah. And then someone posts that on the internet and then your client sees it and then they call their superintendent, like they're not safe. And it's just like, oh man. So now my guys will be like, this is OSHA approved. Like when they send me photos, because I'm like, don't send me your mid-slope photos. But at the same time,
if you trust them to be smart enough about it, they're going to be smart. They know what looks good and what doesn't. Better than anybody.
Yeah.
But even like some tight-lipped operations. There's whole pages online that just share accidents and stuff. All the time, I'm like, oh, I know exactly where that is. Yeah. Oh, I know exactly what site that is. Yeah, like I could tell you exactly what machine. I've seen that machine before.
So it's like I'm looking at the journey of where perfection has led me, like trying to be the perfectionist, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And so that opens up a can of worms of like, is it not good? Like from a safety perspective, that
I don't think it is.
We can't find a better way to be open. Like we knew a guy last year or two. No, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. He, a man that was hurting was walking among us on a job site, and now he wasn't on our crew, and wasn't working directly for us, but ended up committing suicide while on the job. 2 daughters, devastating, right? And it literally hit me, and I was like, he was on our site for like 2 months.
Oh, we had no idea.
And we had no idea.
Oh.
And so Wade and I were talking. Wade's kind of the guy that goes on and does the selfie videos on our unit. He's one of the brothers that grew up in a landfill, and he's just amazing. We started talking about like a sticker of it's okay to say I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone through treatment, and he's very open about, he's kind of our point guy on our team when people are struggling. He does a check-in with them because he knows closely the union resources and navigating that. And obviously I think a guy would be more comfortable chatting with Wade than me, right? Or insurance or whatever. And I'm like, I can't believe that happened. Like I can't. And then I started looking at the statistics of suicide and addiction. And Wade's been talking to me about like what they walk out working the gritty hours and not making themselves a priority. And it was kind of devastating for him. Like, this is so sad. Like, I'm a little busy talking about women in construction and people are hurting, like on our job sites now. Like, what are we going to do as a company? And we're so small now that we can like adapt and do new, different things. And it's possible, right? We're not moving a mountain. We can try like new and different things. So I'm really fascinated by that. And from that happening, I'm just trying to figure out, do we have mental safety officers on our job sites? And with different stickers that identify on hats, like if you're not okay in this company, we want you to tell us that. And here are some point people that have some training in mental health and mental safety too.
There's a program that I'm a huge believer in called U-Turn.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
You gotta check them out. It's no joke.
What is it called again?
U-Turn.
U-Turn.
Yeah.
And I honestly think you sent me a link.
It's super affordable.
Does it empower like your own people to kind of help each other?
The most helpful video-based training on mental health, substance abuse I have ever seen.
Love it.
And then it's a number that anybody can call.
Yep.
They don't report it to the employer. You can use it as much as you want.
Yep.
Your family can use it.
Amazing.
So anybody in your family can use it as well. And
Love that.
And it doesn't just cover abuse. It covers abuse, suicide, addiction, stress, anxiety. You can just call
where it starts, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
It's
a good one.
I am a huge. I don't think we even get anything for talking with them about it. They've partnered with us on the summit and so on and so forth. But we have it for our company.
That's awesome.
I talk about it every chance I get.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. But it's like, for me as an employer, I can't expect to go draw people into my company. My company sucks to work for.
Yeah.
Like, my number one job should be to make a company
a better place
that worth working for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're by no means perfect. We
No.
have fucked up everything imaginable.
And
we have royally screwed some things up.
Yeah.
But I'm at least striving to make it a great place to be,
Yes.
a great place to work for.
That
'Cause
intention's everything.
Yeah, I need to give everybody at the company a reason to stick around.
Yes.
And if we lose that reason, they
Right.
leave. And I don't blame them for leaving.
I've been working on that for the last couple years, and I think I was kind of doing it all wrong, where I was trying to build a culture, because culture was like this popular thing to say, and like we have a good culture.
Still is.
Is it? See, now I don't follow anything or I don't know so much what's happening anymore. More again, because not that I don't want to follow people's stories, I just literally don't have time, because I get home and then it's like, change my diaper, like just craziness. But I started to build culture in a way that I thought our guys and gals needed it. Like, oh, this is what culture would look like to me. And it was like, so. But then I started going to my field leads. Wade is one of them. What does building a good culture look like to you?
Mm-hmm.
You build our safety program. I don't want insurance and this consultant to build our safety program. I want you to help build our safety program and mental safety and well-being. And what would an amazing program look like to you? One of the single moms in our office, like, hey, what does support look like for you? Like, and to me, like, I'm trying to build a company that they want to work for and have them build it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you build these programs and then it'll take off and you'll attract more people like you because you're awesome.
Because you're not trying to recruit more Missies.
No.
You're trying.
No. I am like a walk in progress.
Which is also, I think, what people think, like, and that's where some of these workforce development programs are misguided. It's like, wait, you're approaching it from your perspective. We're not trying to hire, you're 53.
Back to the basics.
We're not trying to hire more 53-year-olds.
No.
And great. If somebody 53 wants to come in, come on down.
Yes.
But we're trying to get, like, your kids.
Yes.
So what do your kids want?
Yes.
Which is probably different than what you want or what you wanted.
And kids are so simple. I love kids. I love our families. They're so simple. Like, we had an RC car race set up at this thing, and they came, and I was like, okay, what was most fun about the party? And they liked the machines, they liked the RC car setup, and I'm like, but what would you want to see next time?
Yeah.
They're like, we want to get like a Scherber. This is crazy. A Scherber sponsored bus or demo derby kind of car, and see the dads and the guys drive it around and wreck shit.
Nice.
Like, do all that. And I'm like, all right, we're going to, and Trevor's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, this is a great idea. We cost money, but not make money. I'm in.
One time we smashed some cars together with two D10s with Josh McCahill. And
so fun.
When I saw him a few weeks ago,
you're still talking about it.
All he says is like, I've got another car. And I'm like, say no more.
I mean, you're still talking about it. You're still talking about it.
I am a 6-year-old and I am so on board with that.
It's in all of you guys. See, that does not excite me. It doesn't excite me at all. I'm like, the other day, Trevor and I were on a family date at the Mall of America. And I was like, can I just have your credit card for like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
He's like, 30 minutes? Well, what kind of damage could you in 30 minutes? Sure. And I'm just like, let's go. Because obviously, like, everything goes back into the business and the machines and the people. And I'm like, can I just splurge on myself? And there were some ladies standing next to me and they're like, ooh, he doesn't know what kind of damage a woman can do with a credit card in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
See, that's exciting to me. So I'm still coming back into the world of like tearing up shit and
you can do both,
smashing cars and all the things. Okay, so we have to get to close here. Like, what do you want to close out this conversation with? What's
I guess we need to wrap it up.
Yeah,
because I've got to get on down the road.
But we're friends and we could talk for a long time.
No, I'm glad we caught up.
I was anxious about it. I even straight up told you that.
Most people are, and then every time afterwards, they're just like, "How long did we talk for? What? That wasn't bad at all."
I know.
I told you. I'm just hey.
I think I was nervous about. I'm in such a candid, like, point in my career.
Yeah.
And I'm still like you said, I thought I should tiptoe into that. And I knew coming into this, so I'm just going to put it out there, and it's going to hold me accountable to jump in.
Well, and
it's important.
This isn't a gotcha thing. So it's like if you called me next week and say, hey, can you just delete that? We would delete it. But if people listen to this,
I just don't want to do that.
I wouldn't. I think I
don't want to do that.
No, I think this is conversation that people need to.
Yeah, the goal is to be unapologetically yourself and transparent, and that makes us a better industry. And we've talked about how that affects safety, branding, retention. It's like unapologetic transparency.
Yeah.
And if we as people don't get to be that, like, well, then what are we? You know, like we're robots and we're manufactured. Then turn us into a piece of equipment. You know, put us through the caterpillar belt. Like. Yeah. We're not trying to be manufactured here. We're trying to be human. And the more human we are, I think the greater we will be as an industry and the better people will bring in
100%.
What you're doing. Okay, do I still get my free ticket to Dirt World Summit?
Yeah, I suppose.
Can I hold it 3 years?
You have to use it, though. It expires 2025.
You're going to have to give me an expiration date because that's actually what's going to get me there.
For sure, it expires 2025.
But I'm really proud of you. Like when you and I met, we sat in that hotel lobby by CAT headquarters, and you were this was all an idea.
Yeah, world domination's always been the goal. It's just taken a little bit to get somewhere, and we're just barely getting somewhere.
You've navigated though, and you've kept pushing, and I think
but to your point, because it's authentic,
so real.
Like I'm not bullshitting, and and if I was, I would have been found out by now.
Yeah,
like
and
I would have thrown in the towel a long time. Yeah. It's like I'm more fired up now than ever before. I just and even
that's
some
true.
People even some people like that I'm friends with now. They've straight up told me like I honestly thought you were completely bullshitting.
Yeah.
For a while, it's like I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I probably would have thought I was bullshitting too. But they're like, but you're still doing it. It's like
you're still doing
it.
When it's genuine and passion, you can't quit, and you can't quit. Like this year, I probably could have, should have, would have quit. But I was like, no, this is too real to me. Like it means something, and when it means something, you have the grit to not quit. And I'm really proud of you. You've done some good things.
Well, likewise. It's awesome seeing what you and Trevor have done, and I'm here for it.
Thank you.